See my screen, right? Okay. And Assalamu alaikum, Quanine. Nice meeting you. Okay. So here's my screen. Turn this off. We're going to go to this one right here because this is the most important slideshow I have right here. Okay. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. All praises be to Allah. All praises be to Allah. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Peace and blessings be upon our Prophet Muhammad, his family, and his companions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace and blessings be upon you all. I want you to come closer. What is this? How about you sit all the way in the men's section? Come close. What's going on? We're right here. Or is it too close to you? Is that why the screen's too big? Yeah. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about Ramadan, and this is it's like a little lecture that I do every year when it comes closer to the Ramadan for the new Muslims to learn more about Islam. And please, I know that most of you know this information. So please, if you have any questions, interrupt me, cut me off, and ask. So this is like another review. We did another review about Aqidah last time, which is the doctor, and it was a little bit heavy on the people that they are still new. But inshallah, we are going to redo the Aqidah classes and the basic classes one more time in another timing, not on Sundays, because Sunday I want to do something different. Maybe we can do the stories of the Prophet, or we can do tafsir Quran, Quranic interpretations, and we can do the basics in another day, maybe in a weekday in the evening after everybody's done with their work, maybe or something. Inshallah, we'll do it on Zoom only. So today we're going to talk about the fasting and the greatness of fasting of Ramadan. So let's do some kind of interaction here. And I want the sisters also online to participate with us. If there is any brother here, you are allowed to text, but you're not allowed to be speaking on the microphone. I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit sexist today. So this is a sister class only. So the sisters are here. They're welcome to participate. Brothers, please keep yourself silent. I'd really appreciate that. So the greatness of fasting. What is Ramadan? Who can tell me? Very good. So somebody's saying it's the month that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Quran down. Anybody else has anything to say? It's the month of my fasting. Come on, Jamila, on this video, guys, say something. What do we do in Ramadan? Purify ourselves, our soul. We purify ourselves and our souls. MashaAllah, very nice answer. Yeah, so we pay zakah, right? So there is a difference between zakah, which is the regular zakah, and there is zakatul fitr, which is the zakatul fitr. We're going to come to that, inshallah. What else? What else do we do in the month of Ramadan? Who can tell me things that we do in Ramadan? Yes, we learn. You said others, feed others. Very good. Yes, we do feeding others by providing for them iftar or the basket of Ramadan. It's the month of generosity. That's what they say. And the month of Ramadan is like a visitor for us who comes every year to us to visit us. And we get the most blessing of it. And that's why it's very special for many people. Not only that, the fasting of month of Ramadan is considered the fourth pillar of Islam. And we talked about the 5 pillars last week. Who can remember the 5 pillars, not the 6 articles of faith? We talked about the 6 articles of faith, and then we talked about the 5 pillars. So the 4th pillar is fasting. So who can remember the other 4? Shahada. Shahada means the testimony of faith, to say the testimony of faith. And then fasting. That's the 4th one. The second one is No, that's the beliefs. We're talking about the practices. Yeah. Yes, so that's Hajj. Be the fifth one, right? Sister Julie?
Salah.
Salah, very good, praying. So that's the second one. So the first one is the testimony of faith. Second thing is doing the salah, which is the prayer, the 5 prayers. Okay, and the third one is zakah, paying the zakah. And then the fourth one is Ramadan, fasting Ramadan. And then the fifth one, Hajj. Very good. Hajj means pilgrimage to Mecca. Very good. Sister Karisa is saying, in Ramadan, we practice self-control. MashaAllah, very beautiful. So I want to recite some of the ayahs of the Quran and then translate them to you. And they are especially about the month of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون. And Allah says, the month of Ramadan is that in which was revealed the Quran. So this is the month of the Quran, right? So Allah revealed the month of the Quran, but somebody would say, but hey, you know, we know also that the Quran was revealed within like the 23 years of the life of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. When the scholars, they say that the Quran, the whole Quran was revealed in Ramadan in the first heaven. And then while things happened, like the circumstances, the events of the where it happened and things like that, to teach us, so the ayah was revealed according to that circumstance or the event, or they call it asbab al-tanzil, means the reasons, or the why it came down, you know what I mean? So the reasons that why it came down, and what do we learn from it. So it is the month of the Quran, a guidance for the people and clear proofs of guidance and criterion, because the Quran is the guide for us. So whoever cites the new moon of the month, so cite the new moon of the month. Does that mean that we see the moon when the beginning of the month? Is it like when the moon is full, or when the moon is when the moon disappears? What do you say? Like a shape of the banana. Very good. Shape of the banana. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, yes. So, right. So in Islam, the beginning of the month is when the moon disappears completely. And then it starts appearing again like a thin white line, just like the shape of the banana. Very good. I like that. Okay. So, yes. So, like a thin line. And then in the middle of the month, when the moon is full, right? And then it starts decreasing again and becomes again like a thin line, and then it disappears. So we know that the beginning of the month, and that's why some countries, they have differences in the sight of the moon. There are 2 different ways to calculate when is the beginning of Ramadan and when is the end of Ramadan. So the beginning of Ramadan, some people, they say, no, we're going to do it like the Prophet ﷺ, like the old school way. The old school way is like we stand on the mountain and we look on the sky and we watch if we see that thin line or not. Now, let's say that someone who's standing on the mountain and he saw it, the other person who didn't see it, okay? But so what they do is they do a voting on who saw most. Like, let's say that 3-4 people saw the sighting of the moon, but maybe like 2 people did not see the moon, maybe because it was cloudy or something in their area, right? So they go with the general, So we go with the jama'ah. The jama'ah means the general of the public people. and the scholars. So there are some people, they still do this, right? And most of the countries now, what they do is the calculation, they call it the astronomical calculation. They do it like through the calculations, and then they see it from the satellite. All right. And this, they say that this is more accurate, because sometimes we have a foggy night, sometimes we have a cloudy night, sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's not that clear, you know. So they say, okay, we're just going to go with the astronomical. And most countries, they go with that, right? And so for us, some people, they want to do it like the classical way. I need to go and check it out and things like that. It's better to do it with what the Jama'ah says. And there are some websites and some, let's say, Islamic boards and Islamic, not government, but like entities, like an organizations or something like that, that they can decide for us when is the beginning and the end of Ramadan. Like, for example, ISNA, Islamic Society of North America. They're known to be doing that. ICNA the same way, because they are one of the largest, they are the largest organizations here in the North America in the United States. Of course, in Europe, they have different, and each country, they have what we call it Wizaratul Awqaf, which is the ministries of Awqaf, which is, you know, they are the ones who make the rulings of the halal and the haram and the rulings of Islam and the court, the Islamic court, and all these things, right? Okay, so so it says here, then then it says the new moon of the month, let him fast it, and whoever is still or on a journey, then an equal number of other days. So someone who is sick, or they are traveling, and it's hard for them to fast. A long time ago, the traveling was very hard. It's not like our days right now. We go on the plane and we don't actually care, you know. And especially if you're going to in a plane like overseas, so there is like a difference of timing or something like this. So it will mess up the whole fasting for you, right? So you don't have to fast on these days, but you have to make them up in other days other than the days of Ramadan. So let's say that you're traveling for 2 days, right? So you don't fast in those 2 days. So you make them up. Okay, some woman has the period. Of course, when someone has the period or the menstrual cycle, she's not supposed to be praying. And so she's not supposed to be fasting as well. It's not healthy for her to be fasting while she has her menstrual period. And that's actually a ruling for her. And if she fasts while she has her menstrual, she actually sins, because there is a clear ayah in the Quran says that do not fast on these days. It's not good for her. It's not healthy for her. And so she needs to drink a lot of fluids and liquids. Fasting means no eating, no drinking, and no sexual intercourse. Okay. So also drinking. A lot of people, well, I'm fasting because the doctor told me to fast. Yeah, the doctor tells you fasting. Their fasting is different than ours. They tell you, okay, you can drink water, you can drink fluids, but you don't eat. That's their fasting. But no, in Islam, fasting means no drinking as well, no food or drink at all. You're not supposed to put anything in your mouth, not even medicine, no pills, no smoking, anything that you inhale inside your, and things like that. So then an equal number of other days, Allah intends for you ease and does not intend for you hardship, and wants for you to complete the period and to glorify Allah for that to which He has guided you. And let's see this. And perhaps you will be grateful. And perhaps you will be grateful. All right. So what can we do in Ramadan? You already answered on these things. First of all, fasting the month of Ramadan, not eating, not drinking. Second, to do dhikr. And you know what dhikr means? What dhikr means? What does dhikr means? I need the sisters also online who would like to participate. What dhikr means? Supplication. Oh yeah, because it's written on the wall. Now it means also remembrance of Allah. Dhikr means to remember Allah.
Mention Allah and read the Quran.
Very good. Read Quran and what did you say?
Mention Allah.
Mention
Allah.
Right. How do we mention Allah? We have different ways. Can you tell me some of the ways that we say?
In the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Very good. Beautiful. The names of Allah. And then what we can say, Subhanallah, Subhanallah, all praises be to Allah. Keep repeating it over and over and over again. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Okay, Alhamdulillah means all thanks to Allah. Allahu Akbar means all Allah is the greatest. La ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah. Keep repeating these words. Especially for the new Muslims, I want you to keep saying La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. I want you to establish this tawheed, this monotheism in your heart, saying there is no God but Allah, there is no God but Allah, there is no God but Allah, La ilaha illallah, right? And also we say astaghfirullah, means like I ask Allah for forgiveness. We say La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no might or power except by Allah, and so on. Sister Carissa saying, practice self-control. MashaAllah. Yeah, we already answered that. Okay, second thing, making sadaqah, good deeds and charity. The Prophet ﷺ was the most generous person in the time of the Ramadan. He was the most generous. He would, when he gives, he would give in the most times in Ramadan, because there is a great reward. And we're going to talk about the rewards of giving and doing things in Ramadan. It's connecting the ties of your family. So if there is a sister or a brother that they have some problems with their parents, they have a problem with their daughter or son if they are older and they have like teenage kids that they don't listen, whatever, that's the best time to connect ties. That's the best time where you can invite them for an iftar, or they can invite you for iftar, so you can bring the hearts together. That's the best thing, connecting the ties with your family. Make umrah. Make umrah. There's a hadith saying that if someone does umrah in the last 10 days of Ramadan as he did Hajj, and of course, it doesn't mean like they made Hajj, but they get the reward like they did Hajj. They still have to do the Hajj, by the way. That doesn't mean that they made the Hajj, okay? So if they could do the Hajj, they have to do the Hajj. Okay, breaking the fast as early as possible. Because there is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he says, like when you see the sun sets, you have to break your fast. When you hear the adhan, break your fast right away. So when do we start fasting and when do we end fasting? We start fasting when the dawn comes. And the dawn is before the sunrise. Many people think, okay, they say, oh, we fast from sunrise to sunset. No, it's not the sunrise. It's before the sunrise. It's at the dawn time. When you see that thin light of the sun just starts like this, it's a thin light all the way in the horizon, you know? And of course, we have calculations for it as well. We have different apps on the phone that will show you when is the Fajr time. Fajr means dawn. And when is the Maghrib time, which is sunset. Okay. So Fajr means sunrise, it means dawn time. And then Maghrib means sunset. And so we stop eating. So let's say that you heard the adhan and you're still drinking water, swallow it right away. Okay. Or so you have something in your mouth, you can swallow it or you can throw it away. All right. And then when do you stop fasting and start eating is when you hear the adhan of the Maghrib, which is the sunset, right? When it's after it sunsets. Okay. So there are some sects in Islam that they will wait all the way till the dark until it becomes Isha. And that's wrong. Okay. We're supposed to be breaking the fast as early as possible. Having suhoor. Suhoor is like a light meal, like a snack meal that you eat before the dawn time. So let's say now the dawn time, what time is our Fajr? We say it's about 5:30. I usually like wake up around 6. Let's see. I can tell you. I have an app here. It tells me when is the Fajr time. So the Fajr is 5:39. Okay, and the sunrise is 7 o'clock. So you have between, of course, it's changing every day. So it adds like, or it takes off like a minute or two. So Fajr time tomorrow is 5:39. And then we have the sunrise is 7. So between 5:39 and 7, you can pray Fajr, but you cannot eat at the time of Ramadan. When do you eat before 5:39? So you can wake up at 4:30, you can wake up at 5, you can even wake up at 5:15 if you can do it in 15 minutes. Okay, eat, and then right at 5:39 or at the time of the Fajr, we stop eating. Okay, so that's a small meal. Don't put you too much food in your mouth, in your stomach. It's not good for you. But eat a meal, a snack meal, like maybe a sandwich, maybe like a soup, some kind of like healthy food, right? Something healthy that it can give you some energy during the day. And then at sunset, around 6:22, that's sunset for us now, right? Then we eat at 6:22. So you hear the adhan and then you eat. And it's better not to fill your stomach right away, because otherwise you'll have a stomach shock. Many people, by the way, they get so hungry, they make a big table of a lot of food. But how much the stomach can take? How much the stomach can eat? It's the eyes that can eat, right? Right. The eye that eats, subhanallah. That's right. Yeah. So eat something very light. Now, I love what the Moroccans do. I don't know, there are also other countries that they do that. It's a cultural thing that they start with a soup, and they break. Of course, the Prophet ﷺ used to break his fast with dates and water. Some people, they eat the dates and water. They go for the prayer, like the Maghrib prayer, and then they come back and eat. Okay, so that will give them that will give your stomach like a rest. So it will rest a little bit, right? And it will make you like more healthy. It's healthier. So don't start with meat right away and start eating and rice and all these things, because it really makes a stomach shock, and then you will not be able to breathe anymore. You cannot pray. You cannot do any of that. Okay. Yeah. So try to take some, yeah. And the suhoor is in the morning before the dawn time. It's better to do it as late as possible. Some people, they like to eat suhoor around like midnight, and then they go sleep, and then they wake up and at Fajr time and they pray. No, it's better to do it like as late as possible, right before the Fajr, right before the dawn. That will give you better energy. Okay, inshallah. All right, making dua, supplication while fasting and when you break your fast. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
I like your innovation.
My innovation. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you? Yeah. Yes. So making dua, supplication right when you break your fast. There's a great reward for that. You can come on this side. It's more, yeah, Sister Carissa, this is more cushiony on this side. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then exercise the worships such as dua and prayers. You know, many people, they don't pray, but they fast Ramadan. They defeat the purpose. Fasting comes before, praying comes before the fasting. Salah is important, just like fasting. It's an obligatory to do salah. Many people, they say, well, I'm not praying, I'm just going to fast. No, that's not right. Salah is very important. If you want Allah to accept your fasting, you have to also fix your salah. So if someone skips with their salah and they pray only one prayer a day or 2-day prayers, no, this is the time where you start practicing and then make it a habit. Okay, make it a habit. Staying up at night and praying Taraweeh. Now, if you can stay up at night late, that will be great. Tahajjud, they call tahajjud. Means like you sleep a little bit, like this light sleep, and then you wake up and do some prayers. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he used to sleep around noontime, like right after Salat al-Fajr, Dhuhr, right after the noon prayer, he would sleep a little bit, like they take a nap, you know, and the nap is very good because it gives you energy at night. So you sleep and you can wake up for like about 2 hours before dawn time and you can do your prayers. Those like exercise, tahajjud or qiyamul layl means like to stay up at night. Those are like voluntarily prayer. They're not obligatory. But before you start with a voluntarily prayer, I want you to fix your obligatory prayer. I want you to fix and keep on your obligatory prayers, which are the 5 prayers. then you can start thinking about the voluntarily prayer. Okay, because Allah will ask you for the obligatory prayers why you didn't do them. If you didn't do the voluntarily prayer, like staying up at night or something, Allah will not ask you for this, but of course you will get reward for it. Okay. So yeah, Qiyamul Layl. Now Taraweeh. Who can tell me what is Taraweeh? What is Taraweeh? Sisters, I want you also to practice, to say something online too. What is Taraweeh?
It's the prayers that you do after Isha.
After Aisha. Very good. Yes.
They're volunteers.
They are volunteers. Yes, they are not obligatory.
So actually, the Prophet, ﷺ, he went to go and he did Tadaweh prayers, like I don't know how many nights, 2 or 3 or 4 nights. And people realized that he was doing this. And then a lot more people came and he didn't come that night. And they asked him, why didn't you come to do the prayers? And he said, because I didn't want to make it obligatory upon all of you.
Correct. That's correct. Yes. So it's not an obligatory because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make things easy for us. SubhanAllah. Remember I told you about the salah like a year ago or something when we talked about the salah. When Allah prescribed the salah for Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the 7th heaven, he prescribed 50 prayers. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reduced them to only 5. Allah wants these things easy for us, right? And so anything voluntarily, you can do it if you have the energy and you have, you have the time, inshallah. And it's great. It has a beautiful, like a lot of people after they finish Ramadan, one of the things that they miss the most is the Taraweeh, because it's a spiritual timing. It's the connection between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, listening to the Quran. So Taraweeh actually can be done individually and it can be done with Jama'ah. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, it used to be only individually. It was not Jama'ah. The Jama'ah was introduced later on at the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab. Umar ibn al-Khattab, he became the second Khalifa after the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ, and then we have Abu Bakr, his first companion, who became a Khalifa, means a successor after the Prophet ﷺ. Of course, he was not a prophet, but he was what? Like a president, like a president of the country of Islam, okay, or the state of Islam. He was also a leader and he was a judge, okay. So Abu Bakr, and then we have, and of course Abu Bakr, and then Umar ibn al-Khattab, and then Uthman, and then Ali. And those are, they called al-Khulafa al-Rashidin, the 4 Khalifas, that they are the best Khalifas, because they were the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, and they were not prophets, but they were the companions, and they took all their information, all their knowledge, everything that they did, all the practices, straight from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was their role model, and then we take their footsteps. So Umar al-Khattab, one time he came into the masjid, and by the way, Umar al-Khattab, he did a lot of renovations in his times. For example, in the masjid, it was very dark at night, so he put lanterns in the masjid, like lights. And when they used to pray, on dirt. So when it's raining and it's a lot of muddy, so he was the one who did a pavement for the ground, and he used pebbles so people can pray on it. Okay, and also when he came in, he also saw people are just like, it was like a lot of noise. Some people are reciting Quran in Ramadan. Some people here are praying Taraweeh. Some people are doing this and doing that. Some people are doing like a circle of knowledge and things like that. So what he did is he made some kind of organization. So he made everyone to pray Taraweeh together as a Jama'ah. And Umar ibn Khattab was inspired by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like 3 ayahs came down to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam because what Umar said. One of them was the ayah of hijab. So that's why a lot of people actually take the footsteps of Umar bin al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. Okay, and we are the Sunni people, and as Sunni people we follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions. Okay, so we start doing the Taraweeh. So the Taraweeh is about Some people do it in an hour and a half. Some people do it in 2 hours in the masjid right after Isha. They pray a lot of rak'ahs, and rak'ah means like prayers. And then what they do is they recite the Quran. Many people, they start from the beginning of the Quran. Most of the masajid do that right now, where we start from the beginning of the Quran and they keep reciting until the end of the Quran, until they finish the Quran, and they start over again. Okay. Now, how many rak'ahs we do in Taraweeh? You can do as many rak'ahs as you want. You can do 20, 30, 40, 50, 4, 2. You can do as many as you want. But if you want to follow the Prophet ﷺ, yarhamukallah, if you want to do the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ, sometimes he prayed 12, sometimes he prayed 8, sometimes he prayed 20. And that's why when you go to different masajid, you see some masajid, they pray 20 rak'ahs, some masajid, they pray only 8, and some masajid, they pray 12. Okay? And then they do the what we call witr. The witr, which is the one rak'ah that they do, which is like conclusion, like completing all the prayers. And if you want to go home and continue praying, you don't have to pray the witr, okay, with the jama'ah. You do the witr alone by yourself after you finish all the prayers. But if you prayed witr in the masjid and then you went home and you said, you know what, I want to pray 2 more rak'ahs. You can do 2 more rak'ahs, but don't pray witr again. Only one time a night. Okay? Does that make sense, inshallah? You were going to say something?
Yeah, I did have a question.
Oh, okay.
I forgot the first question because the same question was about witr. I've heard that it's obligatory and I've heard that it's not obligatory.
It's not
So the
obligatory, but
first-
it's, yeah.
The 5 salah are obligatory. Everything else is like sunnah or optional, right? But I've heard that witr is obligatory. So like, and then not only that, but there's like a difference in opinion of when it's supposed to sit between, like if it's supposed to be before tahajjud, if it's supposed to be after tahajjud, if it's supposed to be like right after Isha, if it's supposed to be like right
Very good
after-
question. Yeah, very good questions. So Taraweeh is not an obligatory. It is what they call sunnah mu'akkada. Sunnah mu'akkada, sunnah means the way of the Prophet ﷺ. Mu'akkada means confirmed. That means the Prophet ﷺ did it, and we have sound hadiths talking about that. And so they say, you know, some of the people who go with like strictly with the hadith, anything that is sunnah is like an obligatory. Mu'akkada means confirmed. That means like it is not in the ranking of obligatory, but it is a little bit under the ranking of the obligatory. So if you do it, you get great reward for it, because the Prophet ﷺ did it. Now, if you don't do it, Allah will not ask you why you didn't do it, because your obligatory are the 5 prayers. Okay. Now, when do you do it? You do it after you complete all your salahs. This is the ideal. Okay. Is after you, like, let's say that you prayed the 5 prayers and you're not thinking to pray sunnah, or you're not planning to stay up at night or sleep and wake up before Fajr and pray, then you can do it. You can do the you know, this like the witr at the end. Okay. Let's say, okay, I want to pray sunnah and then I sleep, and then I may not wake up again until Fajr time. Then you do it right after the sunnah. Let's say that, oh, I'm thinking to wake up for tahajjud. I'm going to sleep a little bit, like 3-4 hours, and then 2 hours before Fajr, I will pray the tahajjud. So you pray the tahajjud and then you do the witr. Okay, that's the ideal way, is to do it at the end. It's like a wrap up for everything. You know, it's like a conclusion. Does that make sense? Like you finish. It's like a khatim.
You have to pray the sunnahs before you can pray with
That's the ideal way, is to do all the sunnah or the voluntarily prayer or nafil or whatever you want to do it, call it, and then the witr, right? Now, let's say that you're in a masjid and they prayed witr. Okay, so you prayed for it with them and you were not planning to pray again. Khalas, okay? You go home, khalas, you sleep. But let's say that you woke up around like 3 o'clock and you say, you know what? That's a great idea. Let me pray 2 more rak'ahs, okay? But you already prayed witr. You don't do witr again. Khalas. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah.
Because from what I understood, I guess the person that was explaining it, it was like a part of their like, I don't know if they were Hanafi, I'm thinking they might have been, but it's a part of their culture. He said it's like obligatory, like you have to pray this, and then you pray your sunnah, and then you pray with it. But then the whole, I guess, question was, oh, are you supposed to pray it before or after tahajjud? If you have to pray all the other sunnah before praying with it, and how many rakats witr was?
Yeah.
Because I've heard that it's supposed to be 9, or it could be 2
No.
rakah, or it could be 3
Witr,
rakah.
yeah, witr can be prayed only one time a day, a night, and it's ideally to be done at the end of all your prayers, before Fajr. Once the Fajr adhan is called off, khalas, you don't pray Fajr. There's no more witr. Does that make sense? Yeah, and then if you decide that after you pray the witr that you want to do 2 more rak'ahs or tahajjud, and things like that, you can pray again. Allah will give you reward for it, but you don't pray witr again. Alas, Allah has counted for you witr, and you will get the ajr for it.
Is there supposed to be a certain dua that you do during with it?
So there are some recitations that the Prophet ﷺ recited in the witr. And the witr can be done, by the way, in 2 ways. Either do the 2, just like you're praying, like let's say they call it shafi' and witr. Shafi' and witr. Shafi' means 2 rak'ahs, witr means 1 rak'ah, or odd rak'ah, odd rak'ah, okay? So in order to do the shafi' and witr together, you either do it 2 rak'ahs first, and then 1 rak'ah and then you do salam alaikum, and then the witr, and do one like single one, and then you do salam taslim. Or you can do it like the Maghrib way, like we pray the Maghrib. You do 2 rak'ahs, and then you sit on your knees, and you do tashahhud, and then you stand up 1 more, and then you do tashahhud again, and then you do assalamu alaikum, salam alaikum. That's the second way. Now there is a third way too. The third way is that you do 3 rak'ahs, what do you call consecutive, without sitting on your knees, without the tashahhud. You know what I mean? So you do 2 rak'ahs, and then right after say Allahu Akbar, after the sujood, you stand up 1 more time and you do it 1. So that's another way to do it. Okay. Shafi' can be done 2 rak'ahs, 4 rak'ahs, 6 rak'ahs, 8 rak'ahs. Okay. Witr can be done 1 or 3. Does that make sense? Inshallah. Yeah.
Also, if somebody is Muslim and they say something is fard or obligatory, sometimes it's what she said, sunnah. It's just sunnah. But the thing is that if you know something is sunnah, like the Prophet ﷺ did it, and then you can do it, you should do it. Like you should be strongly compelled to do it. Like even if it's not technically required, you should still try your best to do that. And so if you grow up doing it all the time because it's sunnah, some Muslims, if they're not scholars, they think it's fard. But I mean, some people, like if something is sunnah and the Prophet did it, you really should treat it like it's fard if you can.
That's correct. That's correct. And that's how I learned the religion when I first became Muslim. This is how the scholars taught me. It's like sunnah is like fard. Even if you didn't do it, and you will not get held accountable for it, but if you can do it, you're compelled to do it. One of the sheikhs told me, he said, the Sahaba, the companions a long time ago, they used to do the sunnah because it's sunnah. Now we don't do the sunnah because it's sunnah. Does that make sense? Subhanallah. Yeah, right. Now, who must fast? Who must fast? This is the conditions of the fasting. The Muslim. So if someone is not Muslim, you can't force fasting on them and tell them, hey, you're not a Muslim. I'm a Muslim. I'm living with you in the house, or you come with me. You need to fast. Don't do that. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept fasting from a non-Muslim until they become a Muslim. Now, if they want to fast as what they call it, like a support for us or something, that's up to them. It's a diet for them. Right? Okay. Second, puberty. A person who is fasting should actually reach the puberty. Now, let's say a person who did not reach the puberty, like 7, 8, 9 years old, and they see us fasting and they want to fast with us. That's great. Allah will reward them, by the way. Allah will reward them, but is it obligatory on them? If they didn't fast, Allah will punish them? No, you know. Okay, sane. So if someone is insane, or I'm talking about like has some kind of mental health retarded, not retarded, but like they cannot see the difference between right and wrong and things like that, then they don't have to fast. But sane people, they have to fast. Able. Let's say someone who they take insulin and they have to take that insulin. They don't have to fast. But if they became better and they can make up these days, they have to make up these days. There is a way to expiate, what do you call it? Ransom. They do like they pay, what do you call this in English? Where they pay like a certain amount of money, or they feed some people. It's like a substitute, like a substitute, right? So fasting is not obligatory upon one who lacks ability, such as sick or very old people, but if they fast, their fasting is valid. Okay. Dweller, that they are not they're not traveling. So if you live in a city and you can and it is the time of fasting, you should fast. If a person is traveling, they don't have to fast, but they have to make it up. Okay. Free of indemnity. The condition is for women who have menses or postpartum bleeding or menstrual cycle. It's not permissible for them to fast. All right. So these are the 6 conditions for a person to fast.
So we are obligated to so when we're pregnant, we're breastfeeding, we cannot fast, but are we obligated to pay all those
Yes.
like the whole pregnancy and the whole
Yes.
2 years of breastfeeding?
Yes. Yes.
But
Some people, no, some people,
3 years?
I know. Now, if you were a Muslim at that time, then yes, you have to. But
it's only pertaining to the Ramadan.
yes, Ramadan, yeah,
Not
not for the whole 9 months, man. Only for the 30 days of Ramadan.
Okay. 30 days.
I have a
Now,
question.
if you cannot do it, you can pay, you can feed maskeen for,
Like if you're like it's
I have
too
some.
much for me to fast, like wow, I didn't realize this. So now by this, like I know someone who has like 5 kids. Yeah. So like can you imagine all that they're just gonna be fasting like the whole year, right?
That's what I thought. No, oh my God, you 2 kids 30 days each.
But then I didn't hear that then.
Yeah, and also what you can do,
Yeah,
and they don't have to be the days after each other, like consecutive. Like you can do like 2 days yeah, 2 days, like for example, do the sunnah, which is like Monday and Thursday, because the Prophet ﷺ fasted those days. Okay, every Monday and Thursday, and count how many days, you can actually do this. That will be a make-up plus a sunnah. So you get double ajr for it. Yeah. Okay. I have somebody online has a question. Yeah. Sorry, you were saying something?
No, I was just trying to clarify was only during those 30 days, right? And then here's another thing. You have to remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made things easy on us. However, there is such a thing as something being too easy. So for example, if you know you're only nursing your child 1 time a day because they're already at that age, then you can easily still fast Ramadan. Because we've had children, we understand that. You drink your water before, you eat healthy before, you drink your water after you
Right.
Now, just because it has been made easy on us, we have to understand that just the way that we look at a sunnah and we're like, well, we want to do that sunnah, then we shouldn't also not want to be like, oh, well, it's so easy that I'm not going to make any effort, right? So just like in the situation with diabetes, there are some people that they cannot fast because it would be detrimental, like they could pass out, right? There are some people who have diabetes that fasting is better for them than not fasting.
Sorry?
So in any of
I am
these things,
pre-diabetic,
especially
and
with-
fasting really helps me a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
So with any of the things that have to do with ibadah, we do it the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us first, right? but we also don't try to trick Allah by saying, ah, well, you said it's so easy. I don't have to really do it. Because at the end of the day, you can't lie to Allah. Like if he's like, okay, I know you're pre-diabetic, but you could have fasted and you would have been feeling so much better. But then you say, no, because I'm pre-diabetic, I'm not going to fast because that counts as an illness. Okay. Or if you have a cough, you're like, well, I'm not going to fast because that counts as an illness. When in actuality, fasting is given to us for a reason. It has so many benefits that we cannot just sit there and be like, oh, I'm going to make it too easy on myself and be like, well, okay. You know what I mean? Just the same way, like the sunnahs, right? Like, okay, I understand we have the like kids that we're putting to bed, work or whatever. We can't pray every single sunnah salah, but we should try, right? We should try. So in Ramadan, that's why we tell people, okay, you have to talk to your doctor, like, because if you're the type of person, if your person was like, I have to be under medical care, you have your compensation, right? If not, then you can make a way.
Yeah. So talk to your doctor. And also for the people who are doing the like they're pregnant or breastfeeding, most people actually they are pregnant, they can't fast. I know some people, the doctor tells you it's not healthy, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of people, they can just drink a lot of water before the fasting and eat healthy food, of course, just like she said. Yeah, and so many people they can't fast, and plus now we are in the winter time, so the day is way shorter than before. Like if it's summer, I would understand that you have 16, 17 hours that you have to fast, but now we have what, 12 hours, maybe less, yeah, to
Sister
fast.
Ruba, you've
Yes.
never been pregnant.
Okay,
Just no. Okay, 12 hours with no food. When you're in your second or your third trimester, I'd be killing people by the time the day was done. Don't say that. There was a sister, she just had to have her baby a month early
I
because
am
the
not
baby wasn't
generalizing,
growing enough.
Sister Muhyiddin. I am not generalizing for everybody. I said many sisters that they can fast.
Oh,
You
if you're
cannot fast.
pregnant and you're in your second or your third trimester, you better be eating food. Like, don't fast or no.
Okay.
Don't.
So
There's
yeah,
a
again,
reason
like
that's excuse.
each body is different, each person is different. So I cannot generalize everybody and say, oh, you cannot fast while other women can fast. Does that make sense?
That's why I said
So
that it's on case-to-case basis.
it's
But
a
the
case-to-case
idea-
basis, correct?
The
Yeah.
idea is not to shortchange yourself or make it so like, oh, okay, well, if it's so
Like
easy,
slack
then
off or like be
Exactly, that's
so
what it
lenient.
is,
Yeah.
slacking off.
Speaking of which, I have a question. Say,
Yeah.
for example, I go to start fasting, right? And it's gonna happen next year because I inshallah khair, I don't want any more kids. Okay. I have a lot of days to make up. So what happens if I don't make up all my days before the next Ramadan?
So
What do I do?
you still have to make them Ramadan right after after the second Ramadan.
I know, but if I, like if I fast and I fast like 2 or 3 days a week and I still don't fulfill all of my obligations
Yeah, you
before the
still,
next,
as long as you are living on this earth, you still can make them up.
I just keep going basically
Going.
after Ramadan. Okay. Jazakallahu khairan. Thank you.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول 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 الله.
حي على الصلاة.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم.
حي على الصلاة.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
حي على الفلاح.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
حي على الفلاح.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
حق لا إله إلا الله اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة وبعث مقام. So we only have like what 15 minutes. So let me just try to finish in 10 minutes. So please let me finish, inshallah. Okay, so the next one is the one who are excused from fasting in the month of Ramadan. They still have to make it up if they cannot, if they can after, you know. So level of sickness and fasting. So it is unlawful to fast if fasting worsens the sickness. So let's say someone has just a little cold. You still can have fast, you know. Just drink a lot of water before you fast, right? But someone who is really ill and has COVID, for example, and that will really make it worse if they don't have the medicine and if they don't have the rest and they don't drink water, then it becomes haram to fast. They have to not fast and make it up. It is this slide if it is if it delays recovery from sickness. So let's say they have cold, but they have to drink a lot of fluid and they didn't drink enough fluid before they do the fasting. And then it start worsening while they are fasting. Then drink water. Someone who has ulcer and they didn't have the medicine before I'm talking about myself because I have ulcer. And if I don't take my pill in the morning, it will kill me all day. You know, so I have to take my pill before I fast. If I don't take the pill, I will have like real bad stomachache, like really bad. And it will make it even worse. And so must fast if the sickness is mild, such as headache, flu. People with chronic disease or elderly who cannot fast, they feed a poor, needy person for every day they missed and it's like about half kilo of food or like whatever their meal is. So let's say their meal costs about $12 or $10. So they pay $10 per meal, or they can make that meal and give it to a poor. So for each day that they cannot fast, let's say that they take insulin or elderly, they have to take their pills on time and all these things. So there's a substitute for that is to make a meal and give it to a poor person. Okay, so let's say that they did not fast for 5 days, so they make 5 meals. That's for a whole family for a day. Does that make sense? Okay, but an elderly who has no conscience, he breaks fasting without feeding or makeup. So someone who is insane, okay, as we said, somebody has dementia, somebody has, and they forgot about fasting, about Ramadan, all these things. Allah is the most forgiving, all right? Okay, traveler, level of hardship. Better to fast, not obligatory, if there is no hardship in traveling. But must not fast if there is severe hardship in traveling, and dislike to fast if there is expected hardship in traveling. Women with menses or menstrual bleeding, there is no consensus that women in such states must not fast, and it is forbidden upon them to do so. So it is forbidden for women who has their menstrual cycle to fast. It is forbidden for women who are postpartum to fast. It's forbidden, right? Not to say, okay, well, I'm bleeding, but I'm still fasting. No, Allah will not accept that, inshallah. But a person can make up this. Okay, breastfeeding or pregnant woman, level of hardship and fasting ruling. Must fast if no impact upon her for fasting, there is no hardship and no fear of harming the child. May break the fasting if she fears that fasting may harm her or child, hence must make up for that day after Ramadan. Okay, any questions so far? All right, so what breaks the fast? What invalidates the fast? First, drinking and eating. Now, they have a lot of rulings here. I'm not going to go ahead and read them, but I'm going to like summarize them. Anything enters the mouth, goes through the throat, is breaking the fast. Anything enters the ear and goes through the throat breaks the fast. So some people, they put those drops. Same thing with the eye. Okay, so anything goes through the throat is breaking the fast. Any pills, anything like that. Okay, some people, they say, what about the injections? anything that has injection that has nutrition in it, food like IV or something that breaks the fast. That breaks the fast. So a person is not that. Anybody who throws up, there's someone who is sick and they throw up. If they throw up, as according to the madhab al-Hanafi, which is the Hanafi school of thought, if they throw up like what do you call it, an amount of a cup, then that actually breaks the fast. But if it's just a little bit of throw up, that does not break the fast. Okay. But if they throw up, and most people who throw up, that's it. It's better to break the fast and start drinking water because they lose a lot of liquid. Okay. So eating and drinking, anything that goes through the throat is actually breaking the fast. Copulation. Any person with his wife or a woman with her husband, if they do the what I mean, the intimacy, that actually breaks the fast. Okay. Ejaculation with lust. Men alone, women alone, or when they wake up, that actually breaks the fast. Now I know that for men, they have more complications in this. They have different opinions about this, but for women, they're not supposed to do that. Especially like the single women or something like that, that they have that desire, or like the teenagers. So they're not supposed to be doing any of that at the time of Ramadan, right? Okay, tantamount to eating and drinking. As I said, like injections, IVs, all these things, right? Deliberate vomiting, okay? Deliberate vomiting invalidates fasting, but if someone vomited unintentionally, his fasting is valid, okay? Some people that they eat too much in the morning, and then after it does they can't sleep, so they start like, inducing their finger so they can. No, that's haram actually in Islam, right? And that's why I said eat something light. Don't eat too much. It's not good. Thinking that, oh, if I eat too much, then the food is going to stay in my stomach more. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay. Cupping at the time of Ramadan is not supposed to, because, it actually invalidates the fasting. All right. And finally, apostasy. If someone is in Ramadan, they say, I don't want to become a Muslim anymore. I'm going to leave Islam. Apostasy. Apostate. Apostating from Islam. Say that I want to leave Islam. So that invalidates their fasting. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. Any questions so far?
So, sister, what happened if somebody has, like, for example, the fasting in the morning or whatever, like, if they has like a wet drinks or something, the woman, she need to, it's a break fasting, but she need to do something for like this.
So let's say that you broke your fast by a mistake. Okay. If you broke your fast unintentionally by mistake, by forgetting, let's say that you forgot, you got thirsty, and just like unintentionally, without even having any awareness, you just grab the water and you start drinking. Okay. And then you remember, you're like, oh no, I forgot, keep the fasting, because if you forgot, Allah will forgive you for that. But if you intentionally, or you're not forgetting and you drank, okay, then Allah will hold you accountable for it. Okay. If someone has her period in the middle of the fasting, let's say at noontime, you want to do wudu or you went to the bathroom, I'm bleeding, what should I do? Then you broke your fast, you have to drink something or some, yeah. Some people, they say, well, just drink something, but keep the fasting until the end of the day. No, that's it. You can eat, you can drink, but as a respect for people around you, don't eat in front of them. Okay.
Another question
Inshallah.
respect to the
Yeah.
well, because other sister, she asked me, and I have questions for her.
Yeah.
And she asked what happened, because she has her period is not regular.
Yeah.
Sometimes her period is 2 weeks, 1 week, stop, and again.
And then it
start,
comes
and
again.
She
Okay.
has this
Very
problem,
good question.
but she don't understand exactly how she can do like the
Okay.
appointment.
So let's say her period keeps skipping. Okay. We have two types of period. We have the period that comes every month, and we have what we call spotting. They call it istihada. الحيض والاستحاضة. الحيض, most women, they know the timing of their period. So let's say that it's supposed to be 7 days, but you just had your period for 5 days. And you're afraid that it's going to come back again, like in the evening or in the next morning or something like that. Finish the 7 days. Finish them. Don't fast on those 7 days. But let's say that it keeps skipping like this, and okay, you know, it stopped in the middle of the day. So you took a shower, right? And you prayed everything, and then the next day started fasting. That's good. You start fasting. But let's say the second, like the day after, you know, it's you start bleeding again, or a person start bleeding again, then she has to stop fasting. Does that make
she
sense?
needs to do the fasting when she has nothing.
No period, right?
No problem for her.
Yes,
right? Okay.
Now let's say there is something called spotting, okay? And a lot of women have this. It's like, you know, I'm having the period, but then after a week of my period, I keeps getting this bleeding, and it's not a part of my period. And most women, they know that this is spotting, this is period. The period has a smell, and it has a thick blood, and it's dark. The spotting is like very light, and it's like red, like reddish pink or something like that. Okay, in this case, if someone is spotting like this, that's called istihada. A woman can go make wudu and then pray.
And still.
Yes, and she can pray and she can fast. Does that make sense? Yeah.
But
Right.
you have to be clean too. So
Yes,
that means that in your pad, it has to be a clean pad.
clean
So-
pad, of course. Sahih. No, sahih.
And then
Very good.
there's the other meeting where it's outside the norm, because I know what she's talking about, because I had endometriosis.
Yeah.
So that, like, cuando sangra demasiado y a veces para como unos cuantos días y
Y luego
vuelve a
volvió otra
sangrar.
vez.
Yeah,
Ajá,
okay.
creo, sí.
So that's like endometriosis. So when you have your period, it's up to 7 days. After that, she has to just go back and do wudu, and do wudu, and do wudu, and make sure she has a clean
Yeah,
pad.
but not everybody has
that's
7
past.
days. Yes.
I know,
not
but I'm
everybody-
saying,
yeah,
like,
whatever
up into
you
the-
calculated, correct.
Yes,
Yes.
but with some endometriosis, because like I said, I've had,
Yes.
you know,
She has it.
I could have bled for 16 days, stopped for one, bled another 16
Yes.
days.
Right.
Sometimes it was 10 days, sometimes it was 12 days, sometimes it was 7 days, and then a couple of days stop, and then again another 7 days.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
what
excessive
happened
bleeding,
with
that's
her.
what I'm saying. Excessive bleeding is different than having your period. That is a
Right.
physical condition that you can't control, right? And neither you can't control your period, right? But after 7 days, you clean yourself, you do what you do, because that's the most typical time period of a long period.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me just just give me 2 minutes, and then inshallah we'll be done. There are 2 types of fasting. There is not only just the fasting from food and drinking, but also fasting from bad habits, spiritual fasting. When, you know, not talking too much, because the more we talk, the more we fall into mistakes. The more, you know, stopping bad habits. Ramadan is the best time to stop your bad habit. So if someone does smoking, okay, some woman, she likes to, or men watch porn and have masturbation. All of these things can be stopped in Ramadan. Best time. And it can keep going, continue after Ramadan. Bad habits, gossiping, what do you call it? Like lying, cussing out, all these bad, smoking, all of these habits can be stopped in Ramadan. And this is supposed to be a good time that you can make your intention to do the best of Ramadan. There are 3 types of people who fast. There is the people who just fast from food and drink, but they do whatever they want.
Yes.
Okay?
Very soon.
Those are fasting. Allah will accept their fasting. But there are people who they just want to stop the bad habits. They just want to stop the bad habits. That's the second level. Okay, so they fast the food and drink, and also they stop the fast, and Allah will reward them for that. But there is the third, which are the best: stopping the bad habits and starting good new habits. Let's say a woman does not read the Quran every day, and I'm like, okay, you know what? This is the best time for me to start reciting the Quran. That's the best time for me to every time I have my paycheck, I'm going to take $5-10 and give it as a sadaqah. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, a small good deed that is continuous is better than big good deed, doing it one time and then you stop. Okay? So once you do start in good deeds, then you can add up on these your good deeds. So which one do you want to be in this Ramadan? You want to be just the one who abstained from food and drink, or do you want the one to just stop the bad habits with the fasting, or do you want to be the best of the believers? That's up to you to answer yourself. Okay. Ameen ya Rabbil Alamin. Jazakumullah khair. Anybody has any question, inshallah? Okay, so how to make up the fasting? As I said, making up the fasting either by fasting those days in other days, or if a person cannot fast at all, is to feed feed. Now, if someone does it intentionally, not fasting on these days, then they have to make 60 days of fasting consecutive. And that's just like a punishment for that person because they did it intentionally.
So if you had intimacy with your husband?
Yes.
Yeah.
In Ramadan, then they have to fast 60 days. That's like a punishment.
Like, because I was talking about slacking off. You know what? I started to think about that was about Sunnah al-Tawbah. How there was people who they were just being lazy, didn't want to go, right? And then you had
For the jihad.
right? Now, having been made easy for us is not the same as slacking off.
Right.
And people need to understand that difference. It's like, for example, if you're gonna travel by plane for one day, and then you're coming back one day, and you're like, well, I don't want to fast it because it was made easy on me. Well, so was the travel. The travel was made easy on you. You could have easily been like, okay, it's only gonna take me this time to this time. I don't really have the need to not fast.
Right.
But if you did have the need, it was made easy on you.
Sorry.
So we have to be honest with ourselves that the Muslim is many things, but we cannot be liars. And we have to be honest with ourselves. Am I really not truly not able to fast? Or, you know what, I can just tweak my schedule a little bit, I can
Right.
tweak my meal a little bit, and I can still do it.
Sorry. جزاكم الله خير. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله العظيم. I say this and I ask Allah for forgiveness. If I say something right, then it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if I say something wrong, then it is from myself and shaitan. And may Allah forgive me. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us in this Ramadan. Allahumma ballighna Ramadan. Allahumma ballighna Ramadan. Allahumma ballighna Ramadan. Oh Allah, make us reach Ramadan and make the best of it. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us in this Ramadan. If anybody has any question, we're about to pray right now. Please send me your question on WhatsApp because I wouldn't see the chat over here. Send me your question on WhatsApp. Inshallah, we can talk about it. I can answer you. Jazakumullah khair. I love you all for the sake of Allah, and I see you